friends. We want to be respectful of your time, and we're so grateful that you decided to join us today. This is our second VIP webinar, and if we haven't had the chance to meet, I'm Heather Webb. My husband and I, my husband is Mike, and we have been the executive directors for Children of Promise for just over 2 years, and what an adventure it's been. Unfortunately, Mike woke up this morning feeling quite under the weather. So he's here and is listening, but will likely be sharing very few words today. So you'll be hearing a lot from me. And thank you to Kyle Hayes, our development director, who is ready and willing to jump in at the last minute to cover some of the topics that Mike was going to dive into. Well, whether you've been a part of Children of Promise for 30 years or you've joined our family more recently, Mike and I want to express our deep gratitude for the ways that you have and continue to invest in the lives of children around the world. You are making wholeness possible. So thank you for being with us today. Our predecessors, Paul and Brenda Maxfield, and the Children of Promise founders before them, Mac and Jean Johnson, laid such a strong foundation for this ministry. Their legacies of excellence and faithfulness have put us in a position to be able to dream big dreams for the future of Children of Promise. Mike and I are so grateful and honored to be standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. You may have heard that Children of Promise is turning 30 years old next year, and we are just getting started. God is calling us to even bigger things with greater kingdom impact. I don't know where you were 30 years ago, but I was in junior high. I had just met Jesus, and I had no idea the adventure that my life with Jesus would be. And so it's this theme of adventure that we're leaning into as we explore what Children of Promise has been and what Children of Promise will become. In our webinar today, you're going to hear about our Choose Your Own Adventure 30th birthday guide that's available on our website, our 30th birthday campaign goals, some new Children of Promise ideas like our global learning forums and our Pray It Forward match, plans that we have that we want to use to activate your church to live beyond this birthday year through advocates training and through travel, international travel. And then at the very end, we'll have a time for questions and answers. So you'll be able to unmute yourselves at that point and dive in with feedback and with questions. We are going to share a lot of information today, but know that our dreams for the future of Children of Promise have been birthed from real life stories of impact and journeys to wholeness of sponsored children over the past 30 years. Kyle, do you have a picture of Dorothy and Aide that you can share with the group? This woman on the far left is Dorothy Colney, and she is the national leader of the Church of God in Myanmar. And she has been a local pastor as well as the national leader for a number of years. It was Jesus' love through Dorothy and the ministry of Children of Promise that led Aide, who's pictured in the middle, into a relationship with Jesus and a calling to pursue pastoral ministry herself. Jesus is using Children of Promise to make an intergenerational impact. So imagine the incredible future of the little girl on the right. Do in her life over the next 30 years through her local church and Children of Promise. Before we dive into our dreams for the next year, before we get started diving into our dreams for next year, I want to make sure to point out that all of the current and future information about our birthday celebration, as well as the resources that you and your church might use, are available on our website. So the site that's going to be really helpful for you is childrenofpromise.global/30. There's a direct link on our homepage, and also if you just type in the /30, it'll get you right there. And that's where we'll post updates, where you'll be able to find the latest information and all the ways that you can get involved. So childrenofpromise.global/30. All right, let's jump in with our 30th birthday adventure guide. This is a resource that is available right now on on our website at that childrenofpromise.global/30. And so we're going to use this guide as to guide our conversation today. And then you'll be able to download it later and refer to it in the coming weeks and months. In the first 30 years of Children of Promise, it's been an adventure. And so, like I mentioned before, it seems fitting that we would use our 30th birthday, we would celebrate it with an adventure theme. So I know that all of us have different levels of comfort with adventure. Adventure means something different to each of us. And so throughout our 30th birthday year, you'll be able to choose your own adventure and participate in ways that works for you, that works with your family, that works with your church. But just know that our ultimate goal is always to make wholeness possible for more children in more countries around the world. Kyle's going to scroll to the next page in maybe one more down, as we talk about what our birthday year is going to look like. We are going to have 4 regional birthday parties next year. We have some exciting updates and announcements about that a little bit later. Each of the regional parties will have a couple of components. One of them will be, obviously, a birthday party with cake and maybe streamers and hats and little blowy things or whatever. We want to make it a lot of fun. Each of the regional parties will also include a fundraising hike with Children of Promise staff and supporters, people who have been involved in Children of Promise in the past and who are wanting to jump in now. Another thing that we're really excited about that we'll talk more about later is a component that we're calling an advocates training. So this will be an optional add-in for those who want to go deeper with Children of Promise. We'll talk more about that later. But the thing we want you to take away from this is that individuals and churches, you can hike wherever you are. We're going to have these regional events, but it doesn't need to be limited to that. So let's take a look at what our potential calendar is going to look like next year. We are super excited to announce that our first regional party in 2022 is going to be in Washington, D.C. at the Fairfax Church. So we just nailed down a date today, so April isn't even correct. It's going to be the weekend of May 14th. So if you live close to the Washington, D.C. area and want to join us at the Fairfax Church, we would love to have you there. We're going to have a regional party in Indianapolis at Church at the Crossing in the summertime, and then hopefully one in the Southwest in the fall, and also on the West Coast in the fall. But whether or not you're able to attend one of the regional birthday parties, we'd love for your church to have a birthday adventure themed sponsorship Sunday to help us reach our goal of getting 300 plus new children sponsored in 2022. So perhaps one of the action steps that you'll take from this webinar today is talking with the leadership team at your church and inviting us for a big sponsorship Sunday next year. We would love to join you in that adventure. Note, you can hike anytime, anywhere, any distance, all for Children of Promise. Kyle, you want to talk some more about what the adventure hikes look like and the options there?
Sure. Thank you, Heather. Thanks for the great introduction, and thanks to everybody that could make it today and those watching later on. I am no Dr. Mike Webb, but because he's feeling under the weather, I'm going to do my best to fill his boots. But anyways, we're very excited to finally be able to share all this information we've been working on behind the scenes. And as Heather said, we thought, what a better way to kick off the adventure that we've had the last 30 years with even more adventure and set the tone for what God is calling us into in this next season. So as you'll see here, we feel like we've created a choose your own adventure environment where no matter who you are, what stage of life you're in, you'll be able to make a difference to Children of Promise and help us set the tone and really build a launch pad for the next 30 years of ministry that God's calling us towards. So as far as the hiking goes, there are a few different elements. So let me zoom down into this a little bit. The first is to hike in person with us at a birthday party. As Heather just mentioned, we're shooting for 4 birthday parties around the U.S. within a day's drive of most of the country. And if you could join us at that party, we're going to have different types of hikes based on what the host church is doing. They're all going to be a little bit different. Some will be more of a traditional 5K. Some may be a traditional hike, hopefully in a beautiful setting. And all of those will have opportunities for you, your small group, your staff. One of my friends was saying that she may do this with her book club she's a part of in her hometown. Whatever group you're in, you get together and do the hiking together at the birthday party, and you can raise money for Children of Promise and our goal. If you can't join the birthday party, as Heather mentioned, we really want people to be able to do this wherever they are. We're doing what we call here at the second part, the 30-mile challenge. And the challenge is simple: hike 30 miles for our 30th birthday in 2022. Now, 30 miles sounds like a lot to most people when they first hear it, but we're talking about through the whole year. So if your family group or small group wants to do 5 hikes to get to that number, or to do it all at once on the Appalachian Trail, you can do whatever you feel called to do. I even told a group that gave me an eyebrow raise in Dayton, Ohio, I said, you could even count each time you go to the mailbox for all I care, just hike. And so we are encouraging you to find what makes sense for you and your church or your group and hike. And it's gonna work the same as the in-party hikes. You'll give a $30 entry fee to be a part of it. And we're gonna have t-shirts and everything else for sale, just like you would maybe in another 5K you've done. And all of that will go towards our big goals. So be creative with that. We wanna see your creative pictures, celebrate the birthday party of Children of Promise in your own way, wherever you are in your hometown, and just be creative of that. But how does the money actually gonna work? And I'll come back to this last one, some of you are probably reading ahead. Is we're challenging you to form a squad. And what that means is just to get a small group of people together. This could be your entire church. It could be a small group. It could be you and your grandkids. It could be anybody. And on our website, this is still in beta, but we've built a campaign just called 30th Birthday towards our $300,000 goal we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Okay, so as I was saying, on our 30th birthday page on our new fundraising website we have, you'll be able to go on and see our big $300,000 goal. And then you can start your own campaign right here. And then here at the bottom, you'll see my wife, Jessica, has already done a practice campaign that's not really live right now. But I, as her husband, I should join her team, I would assume. I would join her team and be a part of helping her reach her $300 goal. So that's how it's going to work. This is still in beta, as I mentioned, but we'll have explainer videos and lots of other ways for you to get involved with that coming up in the fall and into the Christmas season. So don't worry at all. It'll be very simple, and people in your church will have lots of resources to dive into that and get involved to get their own squad. Okay? So that's the basis of the in-person and hike wherever you are. Now, as some of you have seen, we know that there are some people out there that are more adventuresome than others, and we want to embrace that. And we have already reserved a space for next June in one of our countries in which we work, Tanzania, to do a climb of Mount Kilimanjaro. And our goal for this is to celebrate our birthday at the top of Africa. So this will be a very small team, and there will be different fundraising goals, as you may assume, with a climb like this. But our goal is to take a team up to the top, have some cupcakes, like celebrate the birthday for as long as you possibly can at the top of a giant mountain, and then just celebrate that way our 30th birthday. We're also working on a potential USA hike of a similar magnitude. We haven't nailed that down yet, but keep your eyes out for that, because that could be something that the adventuresome types in your church may want to join. So anyways, that is kind of a quick overview of the hiking portion of this. In person at the birthday parties, on your own, wherever you're at, or if you want to be crazy, at the top of Africa with us. Heather's going to talk now about the advocates training, which is the last kind of piece, the special piece about the birthday parties.
This is something that we're really excited about. And as Children of Promise continues to grow, we recognize that we need a bigger team of advocates and helpers who are ready and willing to speak informatively on behalf of Children of Promise. And so these advocates training are for those who come to the regional birthday parties and want to dig in deeper. These trainings will be surrounding making sure that our advocates know the language and the concepts of Children of Promise. When we talk about wholeness, what does that mean? When we talk about the core four, what does that mean? What does it mean that Children of Promise is locally shaped and globally supported? Those types of things. Trainees will also gain missional training to better understand how to work in the global church. And at the completion, these advocates will be certified as advocates and encouraged to represent Children of Promise in their own home church and maybe in their own region. Additionally, those who complete our advocates training will be invited into an online cohort that will meet twice a year, and they will also gain premier access to travel opportunities and other Children of Promise events. So we want to build this team of people who understands Children of Promise at a deeper level and who can speak about Children of Promise with others who might be interested. You want to talk about money, Kyle?
Gladly. Okay, so let's talk about the big goals and why our rationale behind them, because we know that's important to donors like yourselves and your churches. So we want to explain a little bit why we came to these numbers. Other than we like themes, and there's a lot of threes here, you probably have noticed. But we have two big goals for our 30th birthday, which just to ram this home, it starts this Christmas. So we're only a few weeks away from the launch of our birthday year, and that'll go all the way in through next December. So when we say choose your own adventure, we want churches to find what works for them. If it's this year end, that's amazing. If it's next summer or next fall, that's great too. What works for your church is how we want to interact with you, and we are willing to custom build projects, ideas with you to make that possible. So our two big goals are $300,000 raised all throughout the birthday year, as well as 300 children sponsored in the traditional form of Children of Promise sponsorship. So I don't think I really need to explain the sponsorship piece. Most of you on this call understand what we mean by that. And that'll be garnered through the birthday parties. We'll have children that can be sponsored there, of course, through our website. And also, as Heather mentioned at the top, we're challenging you VIP churches and supporters. If we could come and do a Children of Promise Sunday in our birthday year, we really believe that we could sponsor some children in some big ways. So keep that in mind too. All of that'll go towards our 300 child goal. But the $300,000, why that number? There's a couple parts to this that we wanted to break down for you. First and foremost, some of you may have seen on our social media, we've been talking about a COVID-19 aid kickoff to our 300,000. And our goal for that is 100,000 this year end that we're hoping to raise that will go to COVID-19 aid in our global programs where there is not as many resources, where hospitals are still really backed up in so many ways. And that money will be going directly to children through Core 4 support, what our program has always done. And it'll go directly to those children to help them in ways where their community is maybe getting a little bit behind. To give you an example, Mike and I were just in the Dominican Republic, and we met a family who we learned while we were with them. During the pandemic, they had both lost their jobs, mother and father, and the children had been, and the parents, the whole family, have been living solely on the resources they were receiving in their monthly stipend from Children of Promise through food and support. That was it. And what's interesting about that story, as tragic as that sounds, is that because we were able to get those resources to them when they needed it most, it got them through those really tough months. And the mother of the family was able to finish her degree she had been working on, which maybe she wouldn't have not if desperate times had hit fully. And now she's actually finished with that degree, working on a secondary degree through Texas Christian University, and is from the DR online. And the family's doing much better. When we saw them, they were all doing well and very healthy. And I just wanted to point that out because the pandemic has not just affected health, it's affected systems across the globe. And we want to be there for children and their families for such a time as this. I was reading in preparation for this meeting that 65% of developing countries are cutting education budgets in order to catch up from the pandemic in other ways. And that will directly impact the kind of children that we work with, especially because the World Bank is predicting that 72 million new children are going to be lumped into the group that's called the learning poor, meaning they're not able to read at the level their peers are by the age they're 10 years old. And some of you know that's a kind of a standard principle of how well people do when they get into work someday, how well their families do as they grow up. And there are, in most developing nations, they're predicting a jump from 55 to 65% of children will go into this category of never really truly catching up with literacy. And that's a big issue. And one of our core 4 principles, as many of you know, is education. And we believe getting these COVID-19 funds to these children through the core 4 as soon as possible will aid them in a very important time. In the DR, we also saw that there are children whose schools provide them with tablets to do work from home, but they don't have electricity. Think about that. Many of them don't have regular electricity they can depend on, so the tablets do almost nothing. And many of these children have not been in school at all since the pandemic began. So it is so vital that we get into these homes and into these small villages and towns where there is great need right now as the pandemic continues to ripple out and cause great harm in the communities where we work. So that is why we decided to launch the $300,000 goal with a focus on COVID-19. And we're calling it the Pray It Forward Challenge. And we're asking churches and organizations and families who fared well, or sometimes even better than they may have before the pandemic, to pray what God is asking them to pay it forward to the global church through our programs. It could be a small amount, it could be a large amount, but we just would challenge you to pray about what you might share with these communities like we saw in the DR, or that we saw in Costa Rica, or we've heard about in India and in Africa, not all over the world. There's a ripple effect happening. And so our goal for that, like I said, is 100,000 this Christmas. And we're excited to say that we've already raised 30,000 towards that goal already before the campaign. So God's been blessing in that way. And we're excited to see what God does through you and your churches as we jump into the year end. Now, I want to just continue to reiterate, that is just the launching pad for our 300,000. That 100,000 is 1/3 of the goal. As we go into the next year, there's another layer, as you see here, that we want to do. We'll continue to sponsor children and get the core 4 needs they need through the GAP Fund and through GAP Fund scholarships, even as kids graduate out of the program that we've been dreaming up new this year. But the last and really important piece is our global volunteers and teams. One thing that makes Children of Promise very unique in the sponsorship world, and some of you know this, some people don't know this, is that we truly don't have paid staff around the world. We have a couple people in some of our really big programs that do work out of their own administrative funds, of course, because there's so many children. But 99% of our 1,000 plus volunteers around the world are unpaid staff. And that means a lot of great things for the program. It means that they are there because they want to be there. It means that they care about their community. It means that more of your dollars get directly to children and not to overseas staff. But what it also means is that we need to do a better job of honoring these people. Some of these people I've had the pleasure of meeting who for decades, and I'm not exaggerating, on top of very grueling jobs that they already have, sometimes 2 or 3 jobs on the side, are volunteering to distribute food and resources to children on a monthly basis. The house that we stayed at in the Dominican Republic, our host, who's a volunteer at Children of Promise, she travels 2 hours each day, each way to her job to be an accountant, leaving at 5 a.m., coming back at 8 or 9 p.m. every night, and still volunteering for the program every month. These people are just pouring themselves out to make sure that the children of their community can run towards wholeness. And I want to really say this clearly. Without them, our program does not exist. They are vital. And so we want to do a better job of honoring them. And we have a big dream starting in 2022 with some new ideas to partner with them better and honor them. And as some of you have heard, one of the ways we're going to do that is we're calling GLF, or the Global Learning Forum. And our vision for this is once a year in one region in which we work, we will gather our volunteers and key leaders in a hub city to spend time together, to honor them, to cross-pollinate and help learn from each other, maybe on human trafficking or to learn on distribution of food to the children, to allow them to sharpen each other as iron sharpens iron, and also to give them a voice, to get them together to say, your opinion matters and we want to learn from you as the global church. And although we do plan on bringing North American leaders with us to these, and we're excited about that aspect of it, the main onus for the GLF is to honor our leaders and to empower them and to pour into them. And so a huge part of our $300,000 goal is going to be this new vision of GLF meetings each year in each region, one region per year, as well as the means to get some of these leaders there. As you may assume, it's not always easy for one of our leaders to just hop on a bus and go 5 countries away. Now, I will say we do have some leaders who can do those things. When we were working in Africa with Mike and Heather, we had friends who could bring their whole team to fly down to a meeting like this. And we had other friends who took buses for 3 or 4 days to get to a meeting because that's all they could afford. So the travel scholarships you see there for global volunteers is all going to be about helping them get to these hub cities for these big meetings so that we can pour into them, we can support them, and to give them resources and tools that they can use as they go home. So we are very excited about this idea, and we think that it's maybe even overdue. As we honor these 1,000 volunteers, we think it's going to strengthen Children of Promise and our network and just make us better for the future. So I'll stop belaboring that point. I'm excited about it if you can't tell. Our whole team is, and we're excited to even launch our first one as a beta test next summer in Africa. So we'll be sharing more about that as the months roll on here. But I'm going to throw it back to Heather to lead us into some final thoughts and any Q&A that anyone might have.
I'd like to make one comment as well, Kyle, if I could.
Please.
First of all, I apologize to everybody that I've been so quiet. You can probably hear that my voice is not real strong today. So I got quite a bit of throat pain, but I just wanted to reiterate that the GLF, the Global Learning Forum, is coming at a really important time. And it's related to what Kyle was sharing about with COVID-19 relief as well, in that over the last 18 months plus, we have not been able to travel very much at all. We've just had a couple of trips. Typically, we visit all of the children at least once every 3 years. Because of COVID, we have not been able to do that. The value of those trips is, though there are a lot of things that make it valuable, but one of them, is to minister to those volunteers, is to spend time with them, to encourage them, to support them, to bless them while we're there. And so this idea of hosting these meetings, these gatherings, it's definitely for training, but a huge part of it is also just to be with them, to encourage them, to support them emotionally, to be able to continue to sustain in ministry, especially for those who, as Kyle mentioned, sometimes are burning the candle at both ends and are really strained and stressed in their daily lives. We just want to make sure that we spend a lot of time. So now as travel is reopening, it's giving us an opportunity to host these meetings at a time when our leaders feel the most need for that kind of support. So that's one of the other reasons why this feels so not just important, but timely, and why we're so excited about it.
Thanks, Mike. We are passionate about Children of Promise. We love what God has opened for us to do and the future that He has for this ministry, and just feel so grateful that we have an opportunity to be a part of it. We've been shooting the fire hose at you. So now is your opportunity to come off mute, ask us questions, clarification. We'd love your feedback if there's things that aren't clear, or if you have additional ideas, we would love to hear them. So feel free to jump off mute when you're ready to ask a question, and we'll do our best to answer.
Heather, I don't have a question, but I have a comment. The young lady that was in your first picture,
Yes.
that is face paint, and that's a decoration.
Yeah, they use some kind of natural mineral as a cosmetic in Myanmar. So that's one way that you can tell it's a child from Myanmar is because they have their cosmetics on.
Yes. And Dorothy Colney was a guest of ours at Meadow Park Church of God many years ago.
She's amazing. Thanks,
Yeah.
Dale.
Hey, I'd like to say, can you hear me?
Yes, thanks,
Okay.
Chris.
Just so appreciate your leadership. You guys are doing a great job, and this is super exciting. So thank you for all your work on this.
Thank you.
One question that comes up, I am a big fan of this GLF idea. I think that's so critically important too. I'm just wondering about the long-term vision for that. The finances that are raised, is it setting it up for needing to be an ongoing fundraiser to continue to be able to do that? Like how many years, if this is a successful campaign, how long does that provide resources for GLF to continue to, do what you're wanting to do? Maybe you can answer that, or maybe you don't need to answer that. Just something to wondering what that's going to look like next year and the year after that. Is there going to have to be future campaigns to keep that ministry going, or are you getting enough in this first stab at it to keep that financially fed for a while?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it'll be a little bit of both. Maybe GLF will shape and look differently over time as we, practice and feel out what's best for the leaders. But we have such a deep, strong desire to pour into the volunteers who have poured out for the children for such a long time that even if it does require ongoing fundraising, I think that all three of us, and Jessica, who's not on video, would all agree that it's worth that effort. They're the ones who are the hands and feet of Jesus to all of our kids who are sponsored. And so if they're not healthy and whole themselves, we just feel really deeply that their journeys to wholeness are also important as they extend the ministry to the kids.
Yeah.
It might interest you to know also, Chris, that we're at the beginning stages also of conversation with the regional bodies and each of the regions within the Church of God to try to take advantage of gatherings that they already have routinely. And we haven't made any plans connected to that yet, but we are having conversation about how we can leverage those opportunities for Children of Promise to be involved as well, because there are times when leaders are already gathered for other regional Church of God purposes. So that will be one of the ways in the future that we could see where we'll be able to achieve a higher level of sustainability and maybe some lower costs or different costs and different kinds of involvement. But as Heather said, I think it's some of both. We hope that this will give us a nice seed fund to sustain us for a while. But in all likelihood, we will have to replenish the pot over time as well.
Yeah, and one other phase, if you want to call it, to GLF that I didn't spell out today, but I'll just say real quick is our long-term vision for GLF is that churches like yourself could find a region that you'd want to go to every few years. And at the GLF, with a few North American leaders, you would have the option, after going through some training, to hop on the plane with the Zambian leader or the I'm running out of countries here. The TICO leader, or you get it. You get on the airplane with the leader and fly home with them and help us do child interviews. So actually, over time, we believe that the GLF will decentralize our trip planning and get more people involved, which we believe will make us healthier. And there's going to be a lot of upfront work for that, of course, training people to go with or without us to countries. But in the long run, we believe it will definitely pay off and get more people excited about the program. So that's kind of phase 2 of this. So there's even more to it than I just shared, but it's slowly developing. And next year will just be our beta test in Africa. So we're excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll just mention one more thing about the finances. So in the past, Children of Promise, I think, has had 2 directors conferences that they hosted here in the US and brought most, if not all, of the directors to the US for a conference like this. So these GLF is a little bit of a spin-off of that, where we see some value in gathering the directors who are regionally connected to one place. And travel within Central South America is much more economical than traveling to the US or from the US. The same in Africa, the same in Asia, that regional travel is much less expensive. Does anybody else have questions, or have we just muddied the waters?
I'm also excited about the advocacy idea. That's incredible, just to get more and more people. I'm excited about that. I want to, be able to speak the language better, and have a better understanding of what's happening, and for people in my church to be able to be on board with that and help, kind of carry the torch in our congregation, and then to have that happening all over. That's a exciting idea.
Great.
Yeah. In the past, Children of Promise has had ambassadors that have done this sort of thing, but we haven't done a lot of training in the recent past. So we're hoping this will create an opportunity to really give people effective training to feel a higher level of confidence to speak on behalf of Children of Promise. And the dream, the next phase of that dream, is that beyond having people who can speak locally on our behalf, we can over time develop a team of people who can travel internationally on our behalf as well, and help us in serving in a greater role with interviewing children, with interacting with directors, with encouraging directors, even if multiple members from our staff aren't able to be there. So that's something that we're looking for in the future, because as Children of Promise continues to grow, we're already seeing that the travel demands, the international travel demands in particular, will not be sustainable for our small staff. And so we want to have a crew, a squad, as Kyle used that word, of people in our strong church relationships who can help us to carry that torch in that way as well. So there's some exciting, I think, opportunities for the future related to that dream as well.
In the way that we're looking to roll that out, just so everybody on the call and everybody watching knows this, if you're interested, is at each of the birthday parties, there will be a 2 to 3 hour training that is, again, optional. It'll probably be like a working lunch kind of thing, usually after the church service on Sunday, but not always at the host churches. And everyone who attends and goes through that certification process that Heather read earlier will be invited into an ongoing advocates cohort. We'll meet a couple times a year, sometimes more, on Zoom from wherever people are. And that group will go have time for connectivity, missional learning together, maybe reading a book or an idea. But then also that group will get premier access to trip opportunities, training opportunities. Basically, they'll organically become our international trip travel group. And so we're looking for those kinds of relationships, as Mike is saying, for sustainability and feasibility purposes, but also because we like doing life with people. Like, we enjoy this kind of thing. And we want to share with what we've been given, this opportunity to travel and see the global church. We want to share that. So we're looking forward to these initial birthday party trainings, but it's just the beginning in our mind of an ongoing cohort. So I just want to throw that out to you. And if you attend, you'll be invited automatically to those. So keep an eye out for that as well.
I want to make one more comment, and then I'm going to have to stop talking. Kyle referred to our DR trip a couple of times, and one of the comments that we heard from Aide, our director there, was, well, first off, just major enthusiasm for the idea of Global Learning Forum. She was very anxious in a positive way, to participate in a forum like that, where she would have the opportunity to engage with other directors, to learn from them what they're doing and how they're doing it. And one of the things that she can contribute, we learned while we were there, and she's not unique in this necessarily. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened. She started taking an online class with one of her other volunteers to learn about how to read the signals of abuse in children. And so she's gaining skills that she can utilize to better serve the children and children of promise in the Dominican Republic, to keep them safe and to watch out for some of those things. And those are the kind of skills that we see in multiple directors that they can then share with the other directors as well. And what we would love is to shoot some videos at these GLFs to start building a sort of repository of TED Talks, a library of helpful videos that can be utilized for our directors all over the world to learn about important things like the signs of abuse in a family, or our parenting advice. One of our directors in Costa Rica has developed an entire curriculum for how to help parents be the best that they can be. So things like that, there can be a whole series of videos that would be accessible to directors all over the world.
Any other questions or thoughts at this point? Well, if not, I will just say a hearty thank you to each of you for giving us some time on a Thursday afternoon. We welcome your feedback. We welcome your thoughts and your questions as time moves on. If you're wanting to get on the calendar for next year for a birthday themed sponsorship Sunday, let's get it on the calendar. Our calendar is filling up very quickly. So let's get it on the calendar so we can make sure that somebody from our staff can be a part of it also. Thank you to each of you for the ways that you love the kids around the world through Children of Promise and through your churches. It's an honor to be serving alongside you and serving with you in ministry. God bless you, and thank you for joining us today.